Okay, welcome back to our podcast series called Lime Time in Texas. My name is Dale Rand, the Executive Director of the Lime Association of Texas, and we have a special guest with us today, and we're doing a four-part series, podcast series with Kevin Ingram. So I'm going to introduce Kevin to you. He's an expert in the use of lime, and I'll let him tell you a little bit about his background, and then I'm going to follow up and ask him a few questions about the use of lime in soil stabilization.
Well, I have a PhD in chemistry from University of North Texas, and I've had about 32 years in the lime business, NBD, R&D, tech service. So I've seen a lot of things.
Okay, so Kevin not only has a lot of practical experience, but he knows really the chemistry of how lime actually works in soil. So I want to kind of maybe try to get in and ask him some very specific questions as we go along here. That we know that lime is the preferred, generally accepted as the preferred use, preferred stabilizer when you're talking about clay soils, stabilizing clay soils. So what's unique about lime that makes it work where other things just don't work as well?
Well, let's just go back, since we're in Texas, let's talk about what I call the Texas two-step. There's immediate reaction, textural change you see, and then there's long-term pozzolanic growth. 1, 2. What causes that first? Calcium does. Let's get back to what are clays. Clays are particles under 2 micron in size. If I had hair, it'd be under 100 microns across. So they're really small, and they have clay-like chemistry. A lot of the common clays here in Texas are going to be little flat platelets. So think about a playing card. Well, the problem is they tend to have a negative surface charge. Okay, that's great. You try to put negatives together, they repel each other. So it wants to pull in cations. What's the most common cation in nature? Sodium. It comes in, it sort of bonds. Well, sodium's not that great a cation. It's a +1, not to get too deep, but it also brings in its friend water. Okay, so I got a card. Well, let's say I have a deck of cards, and now I put lubricant in between it, it's going to slide. You squeeze it, that's why you can extrude it between your fingers. So we need something that's a better cation to change how the structure is. So the first step, lime being calcium oxide that converts to calcium hydroxide for soil, calcium. It comes in, it immediately starts dissolving in the water, you start to mix it in, all of a sudden it goes to the surfaces. It kicks off sodium, it makes that layer a little bit thinner, and between not being face to face, now it can go edge to face. So you actually start making a house of cards. When you think about it, you have a deck of cards here, you stand them up, they're going to fall down. If you're good enough, you can take cards and build them at angles and actually make a several-story house out of it. That's what immediately happens, that immediate textural change. Any calcium could do that. So in your soils for your garden, you might throw down a gypsum because you don't want the pH to go up. Or you have time, you're a little bit acidic in the soil, you add a little bit of limestone. Over time that dissolves and that brings you your calcium. But you need a second step here. The second step is the pozzolanic reaction. Pozzolans are named after the pumice in Italy. They're silica alumina. A pozzolan is a material that in the presence of lime and water creates cement. Great. We got a pozzolan in the clay because it's aluminum silicate. We got calcium, we got alkalinity. Once we raise the pH above 10.5, the silica alumina start to dissolve. You get those materials in water, you got your calcium, your water, it wants to precipitate out and form calcium silicate hydrates, calcium aluminate hydrates, cements. And so over time, it slowly starts to form tendrils, actually needles, that are hard cementing. So I add calcium, I change my orientation, I start to dissolve it, and I cement it together in the new orientation. The good thing about it, it's slow. Great, I want it really fast. Well, what that means though is it's going to be stronger in a month than it is in day one. It's going to be stronger in a year than it is in a month. It's going to be stronger in 40 years. It slowly gains strength. But also if you get cracking in there, because those tendrils keep dissolving or forming, as long as you have calcium, alkalinity, the clays there in water, you can heal. So that's why it's the best material for clay soils.
So let me ask you maybe a specific question that's just, I've had in the back of my mind. So I know, so calcium is a +2 cation charge, and some of the vendors that I see selling products that are either potassium or sodium? What do those do? I know they use them a lot on unpaved roads as as dust control, but they use the term that they stabilize it, but it doesn't form pozzolanic cement, correct?
No, it does not do that. What people noticed is whether you had like a mag chloride or a sodium chloride or potassium, you put it down, it tends to harden up. So it is harder, but it's not going to heal, and it's not going to be long-term strength. So if you're talking about a month, yeah, you can put it down, it's harder. I mean, we do dust control in our plants. It gets harder over time, but that's not a permanent. Now, sometimes people will talk about using sodium or potassium for a stabilizer. Will it work? Well, yeah, technically it will, but it's going to take some time. And the other thing is, lime's a lot cheaper. Potassium is probably over $1,000 a ton. Sodium's getting up, can be from 400 to 1,000. That's expensive. Oh yeah, and it's pH 14, so it's hazardous materials over the road.
Okay.
So that's something you do not want to use in roads.
Okay, so they use it. I know. Is that why they use it for dust control? They really dilute it down to put it down on low volume roadways.
It's water with a little bit of chlorides in there, and that attracts water back to it from the atmosphere to keep it wet.
Okay, all right, good. So the other question I have is, so we know that when we use lime in soil stabilization, we're trying to form calcium silicate hydrate or calcium aluminate hydrate. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, I know that sand is silica. So and some of the questions I get is people will call and say, hey, I've got a sandy soil, can I use lime for that? And I know the answer is no, they can't do that, but can you explain why lime does not, we don't recommend it in sandy soils, where we do recommend it, it's almost always recommended in clay soils, which is silica also. So
let's just go back to the simple basics. We have clay particles under 2 microns in size. They're flat platelets. The lime can come in and start attacking on the edges. We have silica bonds hanging out here. There's a lot of surface area relative. So there's a lot of places for the little piranhas to attack. That's why it can dissolve the clay over time. Now let's get a piece of sand. Sand is a size that can be 50, 100 microns in size. 250, that's still smaller than a hair. That's a heck of a lot. But the thing is, you got, let's see, 50 microns, you're going to have about 15,000 more particles of clay for the same mass as this quartz. So it's big. The other thing is, it's very crystalline, rigid crystals, and the lime can't really have a place to attack. So if you have a long time, decades, maybe it'll work. If you have temperature, in the cement kiln, they'll take it up to 2,600 Fahrenheit, it will react. Or in Europe, they have sand lime bricks. They basically mix it up, they put it in an autoclave at 10 atmospheres and several hundred degrees overnight, and it will react then. You have to force it to. It doesn't naturally want to react because it's a crystalline material. And so lime and sand isn't going to do you anything.
Okay, so in the ground, we don't have the temperature or the pressure to react with a sandy soil, where it does with what we call, I guess, amorphous silica is in the clay soils.
Right, and if you did have the temperature, you'd be in a volcano, so let's don't go there.
Okay, all right, we don't need to stabilize any volcanoes. So last question I have for you, and one common question that people ask me is, well, Portland cement has calcium oxide in it. It's basically made of limestone, burned limestone, just like lime is made. So why doesn't that work the same way in a clay soil that lime does?
Well, it's all about available or free lime. In cement, they try to burn it where there's really no free lime left. So that calcium's tied up with the silica. That calcium's already tied up with the alumina. It's sort of like in your body. You've got bones. You got 10, 15, 20 pounds of bones in you. 99% of that calcium is tied up in the bone. 1% is free in your blood. That's what's regulating nerve cells and all that. So you want free lime. Lime is a chemical. We're going to be selling 87% minimum available for TxDOT roads. A lot of other applications will be at 90% available. That is material that can react immediately. In a cement, they have tricalcium aluminate, dicalcium aluminate, tetracalcium aluminum ferrite, tricalcium aluminate. They're all dancing already. All that calcium is dancing. So it comes out from the cement plant, low free lime, 1%, When the tricalcium aluminate reacts, yes, it throws off some calcium hydroxide. That's why they can add silica or fly ash in when they're making concrete. But it's not there as a chemical. It is there as a physical performance spec. It's reacting, it's already paired up.
Okay, so it's just not available to react with the silicon, alumina, and the clay. I think is the way we typically kind of try. The way I've typically tried to explain it is it's not. It hydrates and forms a hard shell around the soft clay, but it doesn't really ever penetrate into the clay and actually.
Well, and that's the other thing. If you think about it, if you think about it on cement, everyone's worked with it. It sets up very fast. I got this clay. There's no calcium to penetrate in. I was talking earlier about calcium getting in the water, going to the clay surfaces. There's none really to get in there. So what does the cement do if you put it in clay? It's going to put a M&M coating on the outside of that clay particle. So we have 50, 100 pieces of, little Art Deco cards there. It's surrounded. Okay, you get good strength immediately. But what happens with cement? You get shrinkage cracks. You get cracking. All of a sudden water can get in there. You start getting pumping and you'll tear apart that cement. We've seen a lot of locations someone tried to get by with cement or cement kill dust. It's good today, it's not good tomorrow.
So the long-term durability of
it's not there. Because you're not penetrating in, you're not changing the structure of the material.
So you made me think of another question. So I didn't even have it on my list here. So we know lime is known to kind of heal or self-heal. So that's one of the long-term durability aspects that lime's kind of unique to lime. So how does that work where you just don't get people ask me, does it get so brittle and crack? And we know it doesn't, but how does the chemistry work there?
In cement, it's hydrating and whatever is there is there. Your calcium silicates are there, your calcium aluminate. Yeah, it gets a little bit stronger over time, but once you crack it, it doesn't fill in. With lime's only partially soluble. Calcium hydroxide, you only can get about 1.6 grams per liter of water. You're putting down a lot more than that on the soil. So there's always going to be a calcium and hydroxide reservoir there. And as long as the pH is above 10.5, there's clay there, there's water, and there's calcium, it's going to slowly react and keep building those compounds. So maybe someone doesn't want to have slow, but the slow and steady wins the race over time because it can heal. It keeps building those compounds, even when they're broken.
Yeah, so that's good. So that's why we kind of explained the long-term durability that you get with the use of lime. It's just a different kind of reaction that it stays flexible. And I spent most of my career in design and construction of flexible pavements, and we intend for flexible pavements to stay flexible. So it's kind of a good point to bring up. So. Well, that kind of concludes, this is the third part of our 4-part series on the use of lime, and this particular one was on lime in kind of roads and civil projects, particularly I'm talking about highway construction here. So if you have any questions for us, as always, please submit those to our website or directly to me, and I'll get the questions to Kevin if it's something that I can't answer for you. And we appreciate you spending the time with us today, and hopefully you learned a little bit more about the chemistry and how it works in soil stabilization. Thank you. Thank you for watching this episode of our podcast. If you want to learn more about the use of lime, reach out to us on our website at limetexas.org. You can also email me at dalerand@limetexas.org. And please follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.